So just when you thought the Grizzlies firing Taylor Jenkins weeks before the start of the postseason was unprecedented for a team that has title aspirations going into the postseason, the Denver Nuggets said, nah, hold my beer. We're going to top that not only by firing our head coach Mike Malone, who helped us win a championship just 2 seasons ago, but we're also going to fire our GM Calvin Booth just days before the start of the playoffs for a team that most considered would be a title contender going into the postseason, the team that has arguably the best player on the planet. They abruptly decided to make this franchise-changing decision right before commencing the playoffs. Now, while we can all speculate what exactly happened, why they chose to do this given the timing of it all rather than waiting until the offseason, we'll likely never fully know what went down behind the scenes. But to me, the bigger question is, what does this mean for the Denver Nuggets going forward, more specifically the reigning MVP in Nikola Jokic and what it means for his future? Now, for me personally, I refuse to believe that there wasn't something that happened behind closed doors that resulted in both firings. I don't care what the product looks like on the court. I don't care that the Nuggets have struggled in recent games. You don't fire your head coach and GM this late into the season because you feel it's for the betterment of setting this team up to win a championship. Just like with Taylor Jenkins, I'm not buying that this was strictly a basketball-related decision and the higher-ups just didn't like what they were seeing on the court. Something clearly happened. Maybe it was an argument, a physical altercation, maybe some sort of misconduct. I don't know. But you can't tell me making an abrupt change like this right before the playoffs is somehow going to position the team to do better in the postseason and lead you on a path to winning a championship when it completely disrupts the chemistry and morale of the players. But what gets me is that we've never really seen an instance of something like this so late in the year where the team doing the firing has the best player in the NBA. In the instances where a team that had the best player in the league fired their head coach, it was usually because of some major rift or disagreement between the coach and their franchise player where the player wanted the firing to happen and gave the okay to make that decision. Now, this is still pretty fresh at the time of this recording, so perhaps some news will come out that Jokic was in agreement with these decisions or perhaps was even consulted before they did it, but as of right now, nothing would otherwise indicate that Jokic was on board with the decision. Here's the way I look at this. The Denver Nuggets, based on the way they've been playing as of late, the fact that they now have a new coach 1 week before the start of the playoffs, I think there is little to no chance they will win the championship, and I would even go as far as to say that I wouldn't be shocked if they get bounced in the first round. There was already a level of dysfunction on the court, and now you compound that by the firing of your coach right before going into the postseason. I don't see a world where they make a deep run in the playoffs. Now, I'm never going to rule out Jokic willing this team to victory because he is just that good, but there is only so much he can be able to do in carrying this team out of the Western Conference based on the roster they have around him. Now, even though it's a running joke that Jokic doesn't really care that much about basketball and just treats this like a job and how he much prefers to be back home in Serbia, but at the end of the day, he still wants to win. When you're a superstar and you've now hit 30 years of age and you know your career has passed its midway point, you want to put yourself in the best position to win. And if the Nuggets fail in the playoffs, see an early exit, and nothing really changes from their overall offense on the court after the firing, and if the Nuggets yet again whiff in the offseason by either letting key rotational players walk like they did with KCP last summer and Bruce Brown the year before that, and if they don't add the requisite talent around Jokic, you're talking about a very real world where Jokic asks out in a trade. And given a player of Jokic's caliber, his status as a megastar, best player in the NBA, the Nuggets just might bite on this and go on a fire sale under new management because they know they would get one of the biggest hauls we've ever seen in NBA history for trading an MVP caliber player in the peak of his prime. Unless, of course, they pull off Dallas Mavericks' level of incompetence and don't make him available for the entire league to entice a bidding war and just go to one team and only land one first-round pick in the deal. Sans that level of front office incompetence, the Nuggets, by trading away Jokic, would get one of the biggest trade packages we've seen in league history and fully be able to embark on a rebuild. See what they can get for Jamal Murray, who doesn't have the value he used to, but still has value in a trade despite his hefty contract. See what they can get for Michael Porter Jr., acquire as many picks, young players, and start fresh, because this is really a turning point for the Denver Nuggets in this firing decision. Unless they make a deep run in the playoffs this year, you're looking at a team that is going to be at a crossroads in how they structure their future, and trying to capitalize on Jokic when he's at his peak value just might be too good for the Nuggets to pass up, especially if there's any concern on their end that Jokic himself may push his way out of Denver. Now, where would Jokic end up if all this comes to pass? No idea, because any of the 29 other teams around the association should be chomping at the bit to get him, regardless of where they are in their current timeline and direction. Because it's not every day the best player in the league is available on the trade market. It's not every day that you have the opportunity to add a 3-time MVP in his prime to your roster. Now, I'd like to think that it's going to be the Bulls, given Nikola Jokic's connection and history with their executive vice president, Arturas Karnisovas, and the fact that Chicago is a big market, which big names generally want to be in big markets, but I also know that it's wishful thinking on my part, given the Bulls really aren't in a position to be winning anytime soon. Maybe the Knicks make an all-in push for Jokic, knowing they're still missing a piece to really get them over the top and winning a title. They have the contracts to do it and some draft capital they could send out. Would the Lakers or Warriors do it to try and put them over the top? Problem is they would have to trade LeBron or Steph to make the money work in a trade deal for Jokic. Maybe the Clippers. I mean, honestly, I don't know. A trade for Jokic might be more complicated than it sounds the more that I think about it, given his Supermax contract and the parameters and limitations around the new CBA. All I can say is it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Denver Nuggets after making this last-minute pivot before the end of the year. This league, man, if you had told me in January that Luka would be traded and Taylor Jenkins and Mike Malone would be fired before the end of the season, I would have said you were out of your mind. Never a dull movement in the NBA. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this recent breaking news and the potential impact it has on the Denver Nuggets going forward. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.